How's it going, everybody? This is TNT from TNT RC Nuts. Tips and tricks and how-tos. One of the problems people run into with their hand crank fuel pumps is they start to leak over time. Well, the one thing you can't get for them is a new gasket. And as you can see on this gasket here, this is the original gasket out of the fuel pump. Now this one here is several years old. If you can get a good look at that, you'll see that it's got an indentation. Well, that's where they start to leak at, and essentially what happens, it starts filling up your pump. Well, we tried the quick fix. Took a piece of inner tube, made a gasket to go over top of it. It sort of worked, but it didn't work. But I come up with a solution to completely and utterly fix that pump to where it won't leak anymore. Now, the problem is this will work with the nitro pumps, but if you have a hand crank fuel pump that's made for nitro or gasoline, once you do this fix that I've come up with, it will not be able to be used with gasoline, since gasoline will eat silicone. But here's how I come up with a way to fix it. First of all, as you can see on the table, you completely take your pump apart and you clean it down with alcohol. Now I just use a little spray bottle and 71% alcohol. Clean it all out real good, get it all dried thoroughly. That way you got nice clean surfaces on everything to work with. And then just finding the pieces and parts back again, you want to just pre-assemble your pump back together. Now this is the pump only. Don't do anything else to the crank set or anything. This is all you're going to need, is just this right here. Now what they have is a brass, I don't know what you call it, just a round piece of brass that sits right inside the pump right there. There's a little play in that. But if you can see, there's a ledge down inside of here, and this gasket doesn't fit down inside of that ledge. It fits over top. It just seals that little ledge out. Well, what happens over time, it shrinks, starts to get old, dries out, especially when it hasn't been used. But what I did is I come up with a solution of how to fix that, and this pump will last you for several more years to come. And what I do is just take some clear silicone, and you just get your old popsicle stick, piece of wood, whatever, and be careful not to get anything to the screw holes, but literally just paste that thing in. You can get a little bit, around everything. You can be a little sloppy with it. I mean, I'm too much of a neat freak, but just get you a nice load in there. Make sure your pieces are in. And just make double sure that you're all around this edge on the outside to create a seal like a new gasket. Now, could you keep the old gasket in and do this over top? Well, I'm sure you could, but if it's gone bad, then why? But my goal is right here, is I want to fill that whole void up completely with silicone. That way, when I put the back piece of the pump back together, it's going to squeeze out. Now, of course, some of you people may say, well, why do that when you just go buy a new fuel pump, $12, $15, depending on where you live? Okay, that's fine and dandy. But this whole video series is about the person that has a low budget for modeling and ways to save money. But you can see it's all on there. And now what I want to do is I want to make sure it's smoothed over pretty good. So what I'm going to do is grab me a popsicle stick here. This good old craft stick that you find at any craft section of your stores, like Walmart, anything like that. Ben Franklin's Crafts, Hobby Lobby, whatever. But what I want to do is I'm just going to coat this over top of it. Just thick. Now, I don't know if you can see that well on the camera, but that's really thickened over there pretty good. So when I go to put that back plate on, it's going to really squeeze out. And then all you have to do is just reassemble your pump as it come apart. The main thing is just make sure you snug all your screws down, and you cannot use this pump until that silicone is dry completely. But two key factors is you want to make sure you get that brass piece in there and you don't have anything in the way of your gears inside, because if you clog up some gears, then obviously you're not going to pump any fuel. But this happens a lot to these hand crank pumps, but you know, some of them will last 10 years. I've seen other ones just last a few months before they're no good. But let me get my hands coordinated here, get the rest of these screws in, and I'll show you the next step. But you just want to run your screws in to start with. Don't tighten them up real good. Because already you can see our spots are here, it's just squeezing out. And anybody out there that's built cars, you know, muscle cars, or just had to work on their own car or whatever, knows that once you put silicone in between two pieces, RTV gasket seal or whatever, which I'm sure is probably another choice you can use, you can see now that silicone has just flushed right out of there. Now we just want to be careful and clean it off. You know, ensuring that we got a good seal around the whole pump. I mean, neatness could count, but you don't have to be perfectly neat about it. But there's two types of silicones. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, silicone is silicone. Well, no, not really. You have a silicone sealer and you have a silicone adhesive. Depending on where you go, you might find adhesive. Some places will sell that. Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, places like that. Now, this is all it was to fixing this pump. And then all you have to do is just, once you get it cleaned off, now you can take your screwdriver, give your screws a good snug, just like that. Now everything's nice and tight, and I know my camera isn't the greatest right now, but even after I tighten it down more, there has been more silicone that's squeezed out of there. Let me find the gear that goes up on top of the crank here, and you'll see that no silicone inside, it's just still free spinning and everything else. So now you got to do is just let the silicone dry. You can go ahead and put your pump back together and give it a day, maybe two. You know, if something can be done on a weekday, and you sit there and say, you know, I don't want to have to go to the hobby shop today for whatever reason. And there you go. One hand crank fuel pump, resealed and ready for use again. Thanks for watching. Remember to vote and rate.